Okay.
So hey, so this is our second episode of our podcast. So that's kind of cool. Uh,
Hmm.
my name is Angie. This is Zen. So
Yep.
today's topic. So today's topic I suggested, right? Because something happened to me earlier in the week, which was
Right.
that some stranger was trying to slide into my DM.
Okay.
We're gonna be
Very,
talking.
a very rare occurrence for a woman. I'm sure it doesn't happen often at all.
Yeah. Well, this guy was a little creative in the beginning, but then it turned kind of sour. So today's topic is the art of sliding into someone's DM, as if there's an art form. But so let's tell the viewers what he wrote to me. So I'll explain the scenario and then I'm gonna paraphrase because I'm not gonna embarrass anybody, at least not yet anyway. But so I actually commented on someone or I follow NJ.com on Instagram. They put up a
Hmm.
story about pumpkin spice and I responded to it. He then
Sure.
messages me based on my comment. So he's probably another New Jersey resident, saw that I commented, looked at my photo, sends me a message. Everything that part is fine, by the way. So he built a little report based on something that I did on the internet. But then it started to go sour because I made a joke about Tuesdays and how it was on Tuesday when it happened, and nothing interesting happens on Tuesday. And we're messaging each other back and forth. And then he's like, I say, well, there's Taco Tuesday, there's Throwback to Thursday, but not Tuesday, something funny like that. And
Hmm.
he's like, but then there's Titty Tuesday, and I was like, oh, here we go. So I
Hmm.
was like, he threw that flag out, and I was like, great. So then
Hmm.
I kind of scaled back. I was like, all right, this is obviously someone who's going to try to engage me in a sexual conversation within the first 3 minutes. 3 minutes is all. 3 minutes of time frame has transpired between me interacting with him, and he's
Hmm.
already used the word. So I scaled back, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm a man. It's morning, and you mentioned it. I was like, I mentioned it. I was like, I didn't say the word. You did. So he's like, be really nice if you sent me a photo. So or actually, what he did is he sent his picture, right? And then like 10
Hmm.
seconds later, his picture disappeared. So I was like, I don't know what he did. If he either deleted it or so I saw what he looked like. And then he's like, it would be really nice if you sent me a photo. And I was just like, he had me going there for a little bit. And I was like, all right, seems interesting, nice dude. Maybe I'll talk to him.
Hmm.
But he brought it up, and I was just like, so then I started scaling back. So what do you think he did right and wrong? Because I think that he did something right, but then he immediately went wrong.
He piqued your interest. He led with what you said. From my understanding, he kind of his lead in was what you said in the NJ.com thread, which shows at the very least he could read. I think a lot of guys they'll lead with what's up or hi. So you kind of question, um, do you even want to engage me? But then he immediately went sexual, which of course sets off signals in your head that obviously this is someone that, I mean, it hasn't even been a whole 24 hours. So obviously this is someone that either lacks sexual discipline, only sees you as a jump off, or both. Um, and it's if he was trying to recover, it's very hard to recover from there because you don't know this person. You don't know them from a bucket of paint, except other than how they choose to engage you. So if that's where he takes it, and within 3 minutes, as you said, that's all you have to go on. That this person um, just wants to be sexual right away, and uh, honestly, with online, there's no. I think the element of shame is gone. The element of anonymity is there. Although you can see the person's name, there's still that veil that's there. So a lot of men will jump the gun, um, and if there's a lack of social skill or a lack of discipline, you're going to notice it right away. You're absolutely going to notice it. So yeah, that what he did right was he had a strong lead in, but to immediately go sexual, and then he didn't have any accountability at all. He definitely could have recovered that if he had. I think if he had said, you know what, you're absolutely right. I came at you wrong. I own that. Can we start over? Hi, my name is such and such. I really want to get to know you. I think you're very attractive. You seem, and then whatever, however you responded to the thread in NJ.com, he could have said, I think you're smart, I think you're funny, this, that, or whatever. That would have been a strong comeback. And it would have showed that, yeah, he made a mistake. He's human, but he recognized it. But he doubled down. He was like, well, you did it. And it's like, you're not even owning the fact that you don't have any type of sexual discipline. So,
All
yeah.
right. So I wanna repeat kind of like what you said versus what I would say. The lead-in was fine. He caught my attention. The problem that I had was he threw out a sexual word in the first, let's say 90 seconds, 3 minutes.
Mm.
What that does to a woman's mind is it immediately tells her she's being objectified.
Mm.
Okay. So here I am, I'm being objectified. I'm like, okay, great. And then I try to scale back. When I try to scale back, he doubles down on, I am a man. I'm sexual in the morning. It's not my fault. And I
Right.
was thinking to myself, I was like, well, I'm a woman. I'm sexual in the morning. I didn't say, something dick related, like,
Right.
and so I'm like, all right. So he doesn't take any accountability. He blames on the fact that he's a man. And then he did try to recover and try to continue the conversation. But at that point, I was already sour about it. And I was just like, and he didn't
Right.
do what you said, which is, sorry, let me start over. I'd like to get to know you, which he probably didn't. He was trying to bait me to send him
Right.
photos. What this also does to a woman, especially for me, because I have a public profile on Instagram, is it makes me keenly aware that I'm providing masturbatable photos on the internet, right? And what this is for a man is he can have a full relationship with me, fantasize entirely about me versus actually getting to know me. So it's kind of like it really makes me question how much content am I really putting on the internet and what's being done with that content that I'm not aware of, you know? So it really pissed me off when he approached me that way. I was just like, great, here we go again. It's not different. And I think what women are looking for is difference. We're looking for someone to stand out from the crowd. Now you just said in the beginning, attractive woman, thank you, by the way, but any woman receives a plethora of messages, like, and it's just so hard to weed through that. And at some point you get desensitized to it. You're like, whatever, another one, right? You start seeing the pattern so much that when one comes in that is genuine, you ignore it because you're
Mm.
almost grouping him into that he's one of those, and he may not be, but this guy proved to be. So I was just like, all right. I engaged it a little bit because he piqued my interest in the beginning, but that was it. So we're going to talk about the art of sliding into the DMs. Now, Marcel, you're a guy, so then
Yeah, I think so. It's been a
you
while.
have slid into a woman's DM, correct?
Many a time.
Many a
Yes.
okay. And you tend to be you're a little bit more I want to say loquacious, articulate. You're a real well-spoken type of dude. So I assume that most of your lead-ins.
I'm a great actor, but we're gonna go with what you said.
Okay.
That's cool. We're
So
fine.
most of your lead-ins are interesting, right?
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
All
We're
right.
we're doing great.
Here's the art of sliding into a DM is that when you lead in, you say more than hey. So I have a bestie, right? My bestie is also another attractive woman. She received a DM the other day and it just said hey. So bestie
Mhm.
was kind of like one of her moves, right? She sends
Mhm.
back dude a message. She's like, hey is not a full sentence. What do you want?
Mhm.
She sends me a screenshot of this. She's like, I'm so tired of hey, hi, and how are you? Hey, hi, and how are you? Stay away from that. Why do
Okay.
you stay away from that? The reason is because they are non-interesting conversation starters.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't have a relationship with me, so you don't really care how I am doing until you actually know me. And if you're showing so much interest so early, that tends to like raises a red flag for women. Okay, so
Mhm.
hey, how are you? Just don't start with an uninteresting conversation starter because a woman will ignore that fast. Okay. Now, you actually showed me one of a conversation starter that you had. Do you want to
Right.
talk about
Yeah, sure. We can. So my general rule of thumb before I get into that is, um, I generally am not even going to bother messaging a woman that I'm not genuinely interested in talking to. And that's not to say I'm still a guy. I'm not going to message a woman I'm not attracted to. So let's get that straight. If I'm talking to you, I'm attracted to you. If I'm talking to you, I've already thought I could kiss this woman. I could do more than kiss this woman. So that's number one. I'm not out here trying to be a philosopher when it comes to dating. First and foremost, I'm attracted to this woman. Secondly, do I find this woman interesting? Because if I'm not going to be, let's make the leap and say I'm in a relationship with this woman. I'm not going to be having sex with this woman 24/7. I am going to be spending a very large amount of time conversing with this woman. So I have to find her interesting. So to that end, read her profile. She says something that I think is interesting, that it's an easy lead-in because I am genuinely interested in whatever that post was, whatever it was about. So this woman, this was about around the time of the pandemic, maybe I want to say August or September of 2020. I want to say around there. I was sliding into a lot of different women's DMs, if I'm being honest. But this woman, she had accepted my friend's request, and she had no, it was around New Year's. Now I remember. Yes, she accepted my friend request around August, but I messaged her around New Year's. She was like talking about, what's your New Year's resolution, and I was like, you know what, she's attractive, go for it. And I essentially said, hey, my New Year's resolution is to get to know you a little bit better, because when I saw your picture, my heart was pounding, my heart skipped a beat, and she was like, that's the sweetest thing a man has ever said to me. And we just went from there. We got to know each other. And of course, we had some philosophical alignments. We had some differences, but we had some amazing conversations. She's engaged now, more power to her. I'm happy for her, but that was my lead-in, and I genuinely enjoyed talking to her. I genuinely wanted to get to know her. And I think for a man, that's a huge part of, like, if you're big on that whole men should chase and blah, blah, blah. If you're a man and you think that, I would implore you to really talk to women that you are genuinely interested in, because you're going to be able to tap that feeling, that instinct, that much more easily, that much more readily, because you're truly going to want to know her and get to know her. And again, attraction is part of that. Absolutely. Again, I'm not advocating for men to forgo attraction. That's not a thing. Attraction is important, but I definitely
I don't even think we have to talk about attraction. I don't think a man does it unless he's attracted. So he has to be attracted to her in some way.
Yeah. But I think some men will, they will, in desperation, they may find themselves trying to talk to women that they generally don't want to know or be attracted to. It definitely does happen, but that's another conversation. I have a theory about that. But yeah, that's my lead in genuinely. If I'm on Facebook specifically, I'm looking at her posts, and if it's something that resonates with me, it makes it that much easier to want to form a connection, because I want to hear what she has to say on the subject matter. A woman, maybe about a month ago, yes, she slid into my DM, and I had made a post on my story, and she was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that." And I immediately look at her picture. I'm still a guy, and I'm like, "She looks good." I was like, "All right." I engaged her. She's extremely busy, but we're still cool. We talk. I should probably check in with her, because she's very busy with her life. She has like 2 jobs, but yeah, it's the same deal. A genuine interest in another human being is kind of my go-to. And if I don't feel that, then there's no point. And it doesn't matter how attractive she is, because I'm never going to want to speak to her. That person will open their mouth, maybe, for a bit of fun, but I don't even think I would be motivated to want to get to know her. And I would even argue that if the woman doesn't sense that there's some type of commonality, she might shut it down. So you might be motivated to talk to her just based on her attraction. But if she doesn't feel it either, it's going to be a lot of one-word responses from her. It's going to be a lot of, "I'm fine. I went to work. I got to go to this meeting. I have to do this." It's going to just be a lot of quick start and stops, like just basic responses. You're not going to get anywhere.
All right, let's talk about what you just said, because you said some important things. So you were genuinely interested in someone, so you actually did some research on her before you messaged this one person. Now you admittedly say you slide into multiple women's DMs, and maybe you don't do that for every girl, but like there's someone that really piques your interest. You spend a little bit more time on that, which is good. So the other part that I heard you say, and this is something that I want to drive home. I'm actually watching soccer in the background. I don't know if you see it.
Horrible. I don't have your undivided attention. I'm joking. It's fine.
I'll make a connection, because I was watching it the other day, and I was like, you know what? There's the U.S. goalie, he scores, and one of the most, I guess, I don't know when the sliding in soccer started, but like when the men score, they immediately run and they slide, right? So this is funny. So one guy scores, he immediately slides. His boy is behind him, and the guy does the other guy does the same thing, but the other guy is not involved in any of the play, right?
Mhm.
So here's what happens in real life. In real life, when you're sliding into her DM, there is always a guy behind you, whether or not
Mhm.
the guy has actually earned her attention.
Right.
Okay. So that visual for me was like important. I was like, well, here we go. We got sliding into DMs. This is exactly what it looks like. It looks like that dude and that other dude not having anything involved with this woman, but he does it anyway because he's excited, right? He sees the same level of excitement. They scored. They're on the same team. Okay, so fine. So what you said was so important, which was show genuine interest, do some research, have an interesting lead in. But you then went on to say, when she starts reciprocating in a very short court, yes, I went to work. My day was boring. There's no extension of the conversation. It almost indicates that she's uninterested. But I put that back on you because what I
Mhm.
find that men do is they don't share enough of their own lives to be interesting
Mhm.
to begin with.
Mhm.
So I read some articles about the art of sliding into the DMs, and one of them was be relatable.
Mhm.
And the way that you're relatable is you share, right? You say, hey, I was watching this Netflix series and I saw this same thing that I just did with the soccer example. I saw this, it related to this. Now I've created a conversation starter where she's more interested in actually responding to you versus,
Mhm.
hey, how are you? How are you doing? So right now I have a dude who only asks me, how am I doing every day? Every day I ignore the question, by the way. I never answer how I'm doing. I just say, hey, how was your week? What did you do this week? Tell me more about what you did. Because when he does tell me a little bit more, I can extend the conversation because it's not just about how Angie feels. It's so that there's some reciprocation. There's an actual opportunity for us to engage each other in something other than our feelings and being in our heads and actually talking about events or music. And that's the other suggestion that the article gave is that find commonality, which you also said, right? A woman who feels like she has something in common with this person actually extends the conversation. So you have to find some level of commonality, whether that's music, art, whatever it is that you're into, animals, for example, that's something that connects a lot of people. So you have to be relatable and find commonality. That would be our advice, right? Is that you have this interesting lead in, you're relatable, you also have commonality, but you're asking questions and you're sharing. If you're not doing any of those things, you're not going to survive the DM. She's just going to block you. She's gonna move on because she's gonna just group you into that other category of, well, he only wants one thing and he's objectified me already.
Mhm.
So what do you think about that? Like in terms of the advice that we're giving?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And probably the best advice I would give to anyone, especially men, is like I'll be honest, your odds of success are low. And that's another reason why men send low investment messages because they know that. They know that there have been times where I've sent great messages, and didn't nothing really came of it. Are you on your Facebook now?
I want to go into some of my DMs because I want to show you some of the shit that I've been receiving. But go ahead.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that's another reason why men will send low effort messages, because it's like why really dig deep, you know? For me personally, I kind of went through a phase where I said, you know what, let me push the limits of this and try something new. And my motto was radical honesty. And what I would do is, again, I would go into a woman's DM and I would literally state why I found her attractive, what I was looking for, what made her interesting to me, and I would also state what the deal breakers were that she might have for me. Because I was like, let's try this, and I don't want to waste time. And I would usually end with that. I know this is a lot, but I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. Time is valuable. And many of the women that I messaged responded positively. And when I talk radical honesty, I mean at the time, yeah, I'm gonna put this out there. At the time, I was living with an ex. We were broken up. Nothing was going on, and I would tell women, "This is the situation." And most of them would say something along the lines of, "A lot of guys would lie about that. A lot of guys would hide that. A lot of guys would make up excuses. A lot of guys would wait until they slept with me and then they would say that." And I'm like, no, I'm going to give you your choice. I'm going to give you everything that you need to make your choice because I'm a big believer in not violating someone else's sovereignty and the power of their choice. And some women rejected me, but plenty of women accepted me. Of course, my ex at the time, she had a boyfriend, and I met the guy. She lived her own life, and I lived mine. There was nothing going on. But I think for a lot of women, the fact that I was so forthcoming, that did set me apart
All right,
from other.
I want to extrapolate on that because part of what you're doing is hiding in plain sight. So when you
Mm,
hide in plain sight, as you're saying, hey, I have some unresolved finished business with an ex. She currently lives with me. You know, we're working
yeah,
on maybe parting. I don't remember. I remember meeting you early in the beginning. You kind of told me the same story, and I understand that because I went through that. I went through a similar scenario where I broke up with my ex. We lived together 2 months after the breakup because financially we couldn't move on until
mm,
like one of us got it together, and he did. So he got it together. He left. But um, what you just said is hiding in plain sight, right?
okay.
You're telling women I have an unresolved, unfinished business, right? But I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm
Mm,
not I'm not duping you. I'm letting you know that is part of my situation. Are you okay with that? So and you're getting what's called informed consent. Is like when you tell someone something, now they have awareness of it, so they don't feel deceived, right?
mm,
Deception is feeling that if it transpires early in a relationship, it usually ruins the relationship. It's hard to build trust once deception has already taken place. So I
mm.
like what you said, which is that you're truthful, but you're also hiding in plain sight. You're saying you have unresolved finished business then, not now, obviously, because things have changed for you. But that's probably why some women were okay with it, because you were giving them plain sight information and they were getting informed consent. So if they continue to engage you, they had awareness of it ahead of time. So that was a good thing. But here's what I want to say regarding the DMs, because if you don't have a relationship with someone, you have to build trust with them almost within 60 seconds. And one of the
Yeah.
ways you do that is you give clear intentions. You actually said it in when you were talking. You're like, hey, I tell her more or less like what I'm looking for. And then we also talk about maybe some things that we differ on. You're giving clear intentions. And when you give clear intentions, you're hiding the element of mystery and deception. Or like not the element of you're not you don't have an agenda. You're telling us what your agenda is. So like we know ahead of time. And so that gives us emotional safety. Like I'm not gonna be hurt by this guy because he's already given me informed consent. Like he already told me what's some of the things that he's working on. And I appreciate that about you. So that is a skill that you have innate, meaning like that's part of your personality is to give this transparency because you don't want to hurt people. So you're a genuine guy, is what I would say. Right? I could see you not wanting to hurt someone by giving this information. So that's a good compliment for you. I think that you're genuine. And being genuine is probably what gets you more success in the DMs versus someone who starts with hey and can't really build that trust within the first 60 seconds.
I mean, it's almost like you, because I was in sales for a long time. You're still in sales.
So sales.
Uh, yeah, so it is a skill that has to be mastered. That human interaction and building rapport, and you only have 60 seconds. Yeah, I would say at max you maybe have a minute. Yeah, a minute and a half. And that's if you're selling something that the person is going to be drawn to, but there's no way you can even know that before you approach them. So yeah, 60 seconds. That's how much time you have to kind of prove that to a woman that A, you're not a threat. B, you don't have some type of hidden agenda because women a lot of time they have their guards up. Half the battle is getting her to lower her guard enough just so you can kind of attempt to make that connection. And that can be incredibly difficult, even more difficult now in the post-pandemic era where a lot of people were meeting and talking online. And if you weren't skilled at making a connection through Messenger, um, you probably had a lonely time if you were trying to connect with someone and you weren't able to do so. Because in person, it's a little bit easier. I think the strong point of a woman is being able to judge a man organically through social interaction and observation, and that's not there. So if you're in someone's DM, it's a combination of so many things. How interesting are you? How forthright are you? Do you have the ability to make her feel comfortable? Things like that. And of course, I think a lot of men will break that down into be confident and be funny and all these different things. And that's really kind of what it is.
Right.
Know who you are. Humor disarms us naturally because the world can be a scary and sad place. So humor is a way to disarm your fellow man, your fellow human beings. These things are important. And the men that don't have it, they do tend to rely on the, hey, what's up? What you doing? Because it is low effort. And if they think they're going to get rejected, it's like, well, whatever. I didn't try that hard anyway. Because it does suck to really write an awesome message and then you're left on it's unread. It's not even read. Um, but it happens. It's just part of the game.
So the article that I read about sliding into the DMs actually said interact somewhere else on her social media, like comments on maybe something that she's posted, or don't just heart stuff, but don't look entirely thirsty either. Like go through like
Right.
several years of her content, so
Right.
like when you and build, don't expect like easy transition to happen almost overnight. You may have to build up to that where she starts paying attention to the fact that you're commenting consistently on some of her things. It's like, oh, okay, well, this guy
There's,
might be interested in me.
there's women on Facebook that I DM'd and I did not meet them until almost a year later.
Yeah.
It was the long game. But one of the advantages about Facebook is um, I see Facebook as like your own personal universe, and we orbit each other's universes. And sometimes your universes cross with like similar interests. And Facebook, that algorithm actually helps you. It's like, hey, you like video games, so does she. You like The Witcher, so does she. And it will show you people and say, hey, you might want to be friends with this person. And then you friend them, and that actually makes it easier. Again, connecting with a woman that has interest. Well, if you like the same things, and you're on each other's friend list and you're orbiting each other's universes and there's crossover in those universes, there's a higher probability that if you DM this woman, she is going to want to talk to you because listen, women read everything. Women are detectives, they are CIA agents, they are FBI agents. If you're looking at her, there's a decent probability she's also already looked at your page. There's a decent probability that she has already said this gentleman looks interesting. Of course, most women are not sliding into DMs, so you might never know unless you talk to her. Like, yeah, that happened to me actually in 2020 as well. I had sent a woman a message, and when she responded to me, she was like, "Yeah, I already was thinking about you for a few months." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, because you had made a post about Greek really into Greek mythology." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And this woman was no lie, this woman was way out of my league. She was I'm like maybe a 5. She was a 9 easily. So I was shocked that she would be interested in me, but it was my posts. It was the things that I was saying that had caught her eye. And had I never messaged her, I never would have known that she had her eye on me for several months at that point.
All right, so here's where I think the articles don't give enough of good advice. So,
Mm.
like, these technologies have access to like an audio message or a video message, which I
Mm.
think is more personable. So, like, building trust is about your voice and how you come off to people. Because when you're reading text, that person is hearing their own voice and they're perceiving it from their lens. Versus if I sent you a video and I said, "Hey, this is Angie. I was interested in something that you said. I'd like to get to know you. I'm not sure if you're single, but if you want to get to know me, just message me back." You'd be more receptive to that versus, "Hey, this is Angie." You might see and be like, "Oh, all right, well, she's interesting." But like if you don't have that connection to someone, or you don't have that the other senses, which is your voice, what you look like, your facial expressions, that person is only reading what you're saying through their own voice because they don't know what you sound like. So like
Right.
usually if I'm interested in a guy, I actually do that. I send him a little voicemail or I send him a little video, and then I expect him to do the same, right? Here's where I think men, I don't know if they are shy about it. I'm not shy in any way. I've never been, so at least not from the tech side of things. I'm not like if I go into a room where I don't know people, I might be a little bit shy. But in this sense, in this space, I'm never really shy. So I'll do
Mm.
these things for him. But what he does for me usually, and it usually becomes uninteresting, is that it's the same repetitive conversation where it's just hi, how are you, and it's not moving up the skills. He's not unlocking different levels. You're a gamer, right? So
Mm.
let's talk about that. The next level is phone call. The next level is a video chat. The next level, like whatever the next level is, he's not
Mm.
he's not looking for those Easter eggs, and he should, so that he can kind of make more of a personal connection. Now he may still experience rejection, and that's okay, but at least he's tried, and then he can move on to the next woman, right? If
Right.
in fact she rejects him. So unlock some of these levels, which is audio and visual, right? And the way that you get there is that you demo it. You demo.
Mm.
That's what I do for the guys that I'm actually interested in. I demo some of the ways that I want them to communicate with me. I send them a video or I send them a voicemail. And they either do the same for me. And then that becomes more of a conversation, and then now I can build a connection. So the articles didn't talk about that, but there's the technology does that. Instagram does that. Facebook Messenger does that. WhatsApp does that. And like a lot of different tech, they offer you
Mm.
video and audio. So use it. Use it because it can get you trust faster.
Right. So you mentioned audio messages. So I whenever of course if I'm reaching out to a woman, my thing is like this is technically an opportunity. Again, like I guess that sales mentality is like, how do I not mess that up? You know, what line do I walk to kind of at least form the beginnings of what could be a connection? And I think for a lot of men, it's like if I'm definitely not going to lead with a voice message. So like, how do I even get into that space? And for me, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go with the tried and true. I'm gonna be honest. I'll just say, hey, listen, um, maybe it's something I want to say something, and I was like, hey, there's something I want to tell you, and the tone of what I'm saying is important, or it's a little long, or whatever. And I'm being honest because I really don't want to write it all. And I'll say, can I send you a voice message? And they'll say, yeah, sure. And I
Yes.
send,
Yeah.
and then
Informed consent. You're doing informed consent again. This is genuinely who you are. You actually give people warning about what you're going to do.
right. So, and then the most, I don't think any woman has ever said no. Now that I'm thinking about it, and that's not to say that a voice message automatically leads to something more, but I definitely think it's helped. There's been women that said, I like your voice. There's been women that said, I like how you put that. There's women that said that's interesting or that's fascinating. And then 9 out of 10, they send a voice message right back. It's almost like a dance, in a way, where I sent them something and now they feel there's a compulsion to respond in kind, which is fascinating. I think the how people engage in these new different types of like courtship strategies with social media is completely fascinating to me, and I'm learning a lot. And like you said, men are going to experience rejection, and that's fellas. That's just part of the game. There's unless you're like I don't know 6'6" tall god, like you look like Henry Cavill. You're going to experience rejection, and I think even Henry Cavill in a few interviews said he had been rejected. So if he can get rejected, anybody can get rejected. It's just part of the game. You kind of roll with those punches, but the idea is hopefully you learn each time. You learn and you increase your success rate if you're looking to make a connect with a woman and find a woman that you want to build with. It's just part of the game, and it's not a reflection of your value as a person. It's just, if anything, steel sharpens steel. That rejection sharpens you. That's how you got to look at it.
Right. So, what I was thinking was, where did this come from? Where did this idea about sliding into the DMs? I Googled it and it's like from 2010. Did you know that?
No.
So 2010 was like the first time that we started using the phrase sliding into someone's DM.
Mm.
And I wasn't single back then. I became single in 2018. So like all of this skipped me. So like I've never actually experienced sliding into the DM until I was on dating apps. Um, so 20, 2010 starts with Twitter, and in 2013 it starts picking up momentum. So it took 3 years for people to start seeing that as a legitimate dating strategy,
Mm-hmm.
at least for the internet to catch on, where everyone's using it the same way,
Right.
which I find fascinating. Like 3 years is what it took for this trend to actually gain some momentum, which means that there was probably someone who talked about, hey, this guy slid into my DM, we started dating, we're in a relationship, and now
Right.
people are like, all right, well, this is how people now can create relationships, is that they can slide into each other's DMs. So I googled it because I was kind of curious, like when did this start? And it's like it's not that old. It's only like what 12 years.
Yeah. I
So
mean, technology is really so normally humans push technology, right? Technology comes from us, but now our technology has advanced and is altering the way that we interact with each other. It's pretty fascinating. It really is.
yeah, Match used to have that phrase that 1 in 5 relationships start out on dating apps or
Mhm.
online. And I think that has been true for a number of years. Like people are just meeting that way, and then they're extending their relationship offline. But to get offline, gentlemen, I'm talking to you specifically, start unlocking some of those other levels, whether it's a voicemail or video, you'll get more reception from them. Now, of course, there's some women who will be afraid of it. That's okay. they also need to be trained. And in being trained means that they might have a bad experience or they may have a good experience. They don't know. So they'll know based on the fact that you're building some rapport with them in their DMs. All
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Any parting thoughts? Because we're running up on our, we have about 3 minutes left.
I guess I just want to reiterate, for me, what always worked was just keeping it real, because women automatically have their guard up. I know there's this sensation about, Pete Davidson and like, how can an average looking dude get these beautiful women? And I think a lot of it has to do with his reputation precedes him. So it's like that allure of safety. And I think that's a huge thing that women look for in men. So that's what you I think that's what I helped to create by being honest. The idea that this man he has no intent to hurt me. He has no hidden agenda. So I think if it worked for me, it might work for you, gentlemen. Like, just being honest, letting her know, yeah, I find you attractive. You said that this was really interesting and made me want to get to know you better. I'm very interested in, seeing your perspective on da 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 da. It might work for you. Go ahead and try it. And it might not. You might strike out. You're gonna find a methodology that works for you. But online dating is here to stay, and it's another avenue. And I've definitely had immeasurably more success sliding in DMs than I've had on dating apps. Dating apps are another beast altogether. I think the average man is going to see more success sliding in a woman's DM on a social media site than they will on a dating app, for a multitude of reasons. But that's a completely different subject matter. For now, though, yeah, it's a skill. I would say hone it. Try. Yeah, you're going to get shot down. Make adjustments. The sign of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. If you're always striking out because you say, hey, that's a you problem. There's nothing wrong with women. That's you. You need to fix your methodology. You need to fix your dating strategy and make adjustments from there.
We spent a lot of the show talking about the men's version of sliding into the DM, but like, women do it too. And we didn't really give advice to women about what they can do differently. But I think the courtship is usually started by men in most cases. About 80-20 probably is the rule. Not that it is a rule that everyone should follow. If a woman is interested, she can DM, she can show some interest, kind of like what you've experienced. We're running out of time though, so I just wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in. This topic was fun. Hopefully you got something profound out of it. And we'll go from there. So, Zen, it was nice talking to you, and I hope to do this every Saturday morning.
Yep, looking forward to it. Always good conversation. We'll see you later, guys.
All right, bye. Take care.
Bye.